Welcome to chapter 34 of the book of Job. Elihu proposes that the Lord inspects men, and this is what I have felt after reading so much of the Bible, that God is watching everything we do. And we will see here where this man 4,000 years ago saw the same thing, that God sees everything that each and every one of us does. I'll begin reading a little in the Greek for this chapter, and then we'll go into it. Hipolavon the Eliu legi, hakusate mu Sophie, epistameni, enotisis the tokalon, oti us logus dokimazi ke larynx gevite vrosin. And undertaking, Elihu says, "Hear me." Now we have Elihu speaking. It goes back and forth in this chapter between God, who is the subject of what is being spoken. Hear me, O wise ones. Could be anyone really that he's talking to, or it could be the three men on Job. O ones having knowledge, give ear to the good. So again, he's claiming this higher knowledge that we had. I think it was in chapter 32 that he mentions that. For the ear tries words, and we hear things. It's the ear that doesn't do anything. The airwaves, as I mentioned, go into the ear, and then they go into the brain, and we comprehend what's saying and trying it to see if it's whatever is being said is correct or not. And the communication could also be done by writing our thoughts, by writing on a rock or a blackboard, paper, or anything. Our thoughts go then through our fingers and then through a medium called paper generally. And in those days, but the audible communication goes through air instead of on paper, but they're basically a medium for the transmission of thought. The thought is apparently comes from our brain, and we know very little about the brain, how much it works and does, very limited in our knowledge of it. Maybe someday we'll have a fantastic knowledge and be able to see what part of the brain exactly does everything. Right now we have somewhat of knowledge of what the certain parts of the brain does. But then he continues, and the throat tastes food, which is true. Now, the throat doesn't actually, it's our tongue that tastes the food. The throat is the place, the passage where the food goes down, but that's a figure of speech. Judgment we should take up for ourselves. We should know between ourselves what is good. So he's saying, well, this is, we can communicate and figure this out. And then he continues and he says, for Job has said, I am just. The Lord has dismissed my judgment. And he lied in my judgment, and my spear is violent without injustice. Now, I had a hard time with that one, trying to figure out what that is, what he's saying here, because you would think would be my spear is violent with injustice, but I'm not sure. What man is as Job, drinking, sneering, as if water? See, he's just sneering and thinks he knows it all, basically, is what Elihu is saying. That he's not sinning, nor being impious, nor wholly participating with ones committing the lawless deeds, to go with impious ones. So Elihu is saying these are the things that Job is doing, not necessarily agreeing with it, but showing that this is what he's saying. This is what Job is saying. For you should not say that there will not be a man overseeing, and there is an overseeing to him by the Lord. Now, Elihu is saying, well, you can say anything you want, but there are people that check everything out, and the overseeing is done by the Lord. The Lord's watching what we do, as the title of this chapter said. Therefore, O discerning of heart, hear me. The discerning of heart in 9 here, for you should not say. Now, who is the you here? These 3 men or somebody else, or it could be the discerning of heart. Should not say that there will not be a man overseeing, and there is an overseeing to him by the Lord. Therefore, O discerning of heart, again, here's where the subject is after the predicate. Hear me. May it not be to me before the Lord to be impious, and before the Almighty to disturb the just. If Job is pious, and it's not for me to rattle the cage, more or less. But he, God, gives back to man as each of them does, and by a path man will find him, and a path, road, is another word that's used for this, trevo. A man's going to be on a path, and he will find God, hopefully, if he's looking. And do you imagine the Lord doing something out of place? So now here he's calling it Kyrion. Of course, this is a Greek translation by whoever translated it, but Kyrion is Lord. And it would have been the tetragrammaton there, the English YHWH. Or do you imagine the Lord doing something out of place? Or that the Almighty will disturb a judgment? The one who made the earth, if he makes a judgment, then that's it. And who is the one acting under heaven and all the things being in it? God, of course, is who he's saying. For if he, God, might want to constrain and to hold down the Spirit by himself, or the breath, all flesh would come to an end with one accord, and every mortal shall go forth into the earth from where even he was shaped. So God has control. If he wanted to stop it, he could. But if he should not admonish, then hear these things. Give ear to the sound of words, the imperative. And here, you, behold, the one detesting lawless deeds, and the one destroying the wicked. This exclamation maybe should go down here. He's being eternally just. Now he changes to an impious one, but an impious one is the one saying to a king, you act unlawfully, and most impious one to the rulers, cursing them, saying bad things about them. That is an impious one. The one who was not feeling respect for a person of honor, nor knows to appoint honor to the stout men, to admire their persons. So impious don't have respect for anyone except themselves and what they want to do. But it shall result in vanity to them to cry out and to beseech a man, for they dealt unlawfully, turning aside the disabled. So all these things with the impious. For he, God, is an observer of the works of men, and nothing of how they act has escaped him. So now here is the observer of the works of men. God sees everything that we do. And in one place it intimates that sometime in heaven at the judgment, everybody will see everything that we have done. And I cringe at people seeing things that I do that I'm ashamed of. And I'm sure everyone else would say the same thing. But yet, apparently that's going to happen. I don't have the place to quote it in the Bible, but God is an observer, has everything recorded. It's like carrying these people wear these little cameras and takes pictures of everything, movies of everything that they do. And so God has something for every one of us. Nothing has escaped of how we act, basically. Nor is there, I put the underline there so I could italicize it because there's no there, nor is there a place, topos, topography is a derivative, to hide the ones doing lawless deeds. For he will not put upon a man any longer. He's not basically put up, he's not going to put up with the bad things of man any longer. For the Lord inspects all. Again, he's inspecting everything that you do. So that should, if we're doing things that are terrible that we don't want anybody to see, and we try to hide it, doing it at night, doing it inside in our house, or whatever way we can hide things that we are doing that are bad, it's not going, if we knew that God was watching, if you really felt it, had the belief, you wouldn't do anything bad, because you know God, if God was standing there in front of you, I can't do that, and you wouldn't do that. But God is not physically, we don't have that kind of a understanding, belief, if you want to call it, a faith, if you want to call it faith, or whatever it is, that would stop us from doing these things that we shouldn't be doing if we wouldn't be doing them in front of anybody else. I hope that makes sense to you. For the Lord inspects all, the one perceiving untraceable things. We may think we're getting away, but we're not. And honorable things also, and extraordinary things which there is not a number. So he also sees the good things that we do. He's the one knowing their works, and shall turn night upon them, and they shall be humbled. God knows if we're doing something bad, and he can cause us to be shamed if somebody finds out that somebody was doing something bad. And many people are caught doing something bad by accident, and they are caught up and humbled. And he extinguishes pious ones, for they are visible before him, impious ones. They are visible before him. So he sees the impiousness again. For they turned aside from the law of God, and they recognized not his ordinances. Of the bringing unto him the cry of the needy, then he will listen to the cry of the poor, and God will, and he'll hear about what they didn't do. God will hear what they didn't do, the impious, and God will furnish rest, and who will condemn? And God will hide his face, and who shall see him? Even against a nation and against a man, together giving rein to a man who is a hypocrite, because of the discontent of the people. Wow. So rulers are chosen, and many times these rulers are people that have done bad things, want to do bad things. And God allows these things to happen, allows these people to do the things that they are doing that are bad. Giving rein to a man who is a hypocrite because of the discontent of people, that to the mighty one, saying, I have received blessings, now we got a mighty one, and I will not take anything for security. Somebody thinks he has control over everything and God isn't really going to do anything. I will see apart from myself, I'll see what's going on, and you show to me if I practiced iniquity. In no way shall I proceed. Will he pay it on you, in that you should have thrust it away? For you shall choose, and not I, and what you know, speak. Now, here is a break, as you can see. I believe is probably going back to Elihu. Will he pay, God pay it on you, the people, or the impious, in that you, these people, have thrust it away? Maybe Job, for you shall choose, not I, and what you know, speak. Therefore the discerning in heart shall say these things. So the discerning, and a wise man hears my word. But Job, here it comes. We haven't had this yet, but now the attack. But Job spoke not with understanding. Well, that's not true. And his words are not with higher knowledge, but they are. But nevertheless, learn, Job. No longer give an answer as the foolish ones, that we should not add upon our sins. For lawlessness may be imputed against us in speaking many words before the Lord. You're causing us to say all these things, and we could say something bad that we shouldn't be saying, which is the case. But Elihu doesn't realize it here. Our next video seminar, I believe, is continuing with Elihu, but I don't have that here to see what the title was, but we'll find out in the next video seminar in chapter 35. And I hope you join us. Till then, God bless.